In previous episodes, I've talked about Angela's relationships with her different friends, what I think about it, how I interpret it, and also lately I've been talking about how her anger, while can be a good thing, can also get the better of her. So here's an episode about both of those at the same time. The list. Robert Lamava was the writer of this. He worked on Totally Spies. I will talk about that at the end. Winter. Oh, poor Gordy. He's the one not slipping yet.
But not me, seeing as my dad outfitted my soles with his latest invention, ice grabber sole protectors.
Cool.
Hey, look at me, my slip-sliding friends. It's the Anaconda on Ice Show.
That would be kind of fun.
And I can do anything. Yep, my days of slipping.
Whoa, Twirly. And it's funnier than usual slapstick because she can't be arrogant.
It looks like it's gonna be a...
Oh, and hey, Bob's in this.
Hey, Angela, a way to slip on the ice and fall.
Johnny, take some stand-up classes.
So sorry about your very embarrassing incident, Angela Anaconda. I guess this sort of thing's to be expected when you wear practical shoes.
Final nail in the coffin. There's a lot of pratfalls in the show. They do work here because it's part of the plot.
Okay, class. Today's topic of study will be the Ice Age.
Or perhaps the fall of the Roman Empire.
Aww. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen her blush in the show before.
Insult me with insult, but Tina Lash. Well, I hope everyone is happy.
Okay, also really interesting how she's reacting to this.
You're not sore because we laughed at you when you fell.
Maybe you could just let it slide. Phew. Finally, a place nobody can make fun of.
Wait for it. There we go.
Very funny.
I think Nanette drew it. It's always Nanette, no matter what.
From them, then I am
Even though I
going to
accuse
do
Mark and Derek
anything
sometimes.
For them. Angela Anaconda
Oh no.
everything that annoys her about everyone who annoyed her. Number
This is an
one.
interesting setup.
Tina Lash is a know-everything know-it-all who always has to know everything.
Resentments.
Number two, Gordy.
Okay.
Alcoholic Reinhardt, who is no
I actually kind of get where she's coming from. She's not used to her friends making fun of her. She's embarrassed.
Johnny Pizza
And
Breath, a body whose breath smells
She
like
would
pizza.
take it pretty
And a body
hard.
Pizza. Best in town, more like worst in town.
Not the bodies. And
There.
yeah, she's angry, she's embarrassed, and she's dealing with it.
I suppose you're looking for me so you can do more insulting about me falling
And
on
she's
the ice some more.
trying to have a good comeback.
Actually, Angela Anaconda, for what it's worth, I think you've taken everyone's good-natured kidding quite well.
Yeah, well you're a... What did you say?
A lesser
Aw.
person may have taken offense at our affectionate ribbing. Or have gotten mad.
That's legitimately very
Step up and
nice.
Come out to recess with us.
And I've harped on Gina in the past.
Thinking that I do not need this
That was
anymore.
legitimately a really
I'm
nice
not mad
thing.
anymore.
Ew! What is that disgusting toilet paper doing soiling the very area around my pristine locker? I'll get rid of the disgusting
I
toilet
think it's
paper.
funny. It's kind of fascinating how elementary schoolers have lockers.
Let me see that.
I didn't have that till middle school.
Anaconda's list of
Middle
everything
school,
that
by the way,
annoys
for me,
her
started in
about
5th grade. It was 5 through 8.
her. Fascinating.
No!
Oh, Angela, I believe I have a little something you might be interested in.
Huh? Oh, did I leave that silly thing laying around? Here, I'll throw it away.
This is also genuinely suspenseful.
Give it back, Nanette.
Why? So you can write more nasty things on it about me and your future former friends? Sorry, Angela. Finders keepers.
Someone's genuinely offended.
I'd really prefer you address me as Nanette, ma chérie.
What? Are you crazy?
Really?
Unless
Gonna blackmail her into
you
calling you ma
prefer friends
chérie?
knowing what you really think of them.
Come on, Nanette. Ma chérie.
Blackmail some affection out of your arch enemy.
Okay, students, it's time to vote on where the class should go for our next field trip. How
Dang,
many
that's
people
awesome.
vote for Nanette's wonderful suggestion of the Museum of French Miniatures? Excellent! Now, who wants to go to the Expo of Circus Freaks and Sideshow Oddities?
Freaks and oddities under one tent. I can hardly wait.
Ooh. Bearded Nanette. That's really funny.
Dear, and tie.
Angela, I'm quite certain you'd prefer going to the French Museum.
I'm quite certain you would be wrong, Nanette, ma'am. On second thought, Mrs. Brinks, I'd like to change my vote.
Splendid! The Museum of French Miniatures it is!
But Angela, going to the Freak Expo was your idea in the first place.
Thanks for holding a spot for me, guys.
You got here just in time, Angela. They're almost out of jiggly fruit. Hello, Angela. You don't mind if we cut in, do you?
Actually,
Thanks. I knew you would mind.
Aw.
Oh, look! The last jiggly fruit! I hate it when they're lopsided. Ah!
Wrong bin!
that's it, Nanette Manoir. I can't take
Just
it anymore.
doing this to
I
annoy
can't.
her.
What do I have to do to get my list back?
Well, I suppose you could earn it back by being my personal assistant.
Your personal assistant? Forget it.
Suit yourself, Angela. Oh, John.
Yeah.
Did you know that Angela?
All right, I'll do it.
Keep up, Angela.
Pack
Don't
mule.
let me wait for class. Nanette, it's so 5 minutes from now that you don't carry your own books. It's so 5 minutes from now that it's 10 minutes from now. Well, feel free to throw your books on,
Jamie
girls.
Curly no more lines this episode.
Hey, Angela, want to play doubles? Finally, something I am finally looking forward to.
Yoo-hoo, Angela. Break's over. Time to wax my bicycle and shine my shoes.
I've had just about enough chores for one day, Nanette Manoir.
You're right, Angela. You just sit there and relax while I read your list to everyone at recess.
Oh.
This is
Not the shoes
suspense.
I'm wearing, silly. These.
Oh. Here are the shoes you asked me to shine, Nanette, and I waxed your butt. Now can I finally have my list back?
I would have preferred a spit shine, but I suppose you deserve a reward nonetheless.
Nanette Manoir is a big phony, un-French. Hey, this is just one of the sheets that says stuff I said about you.
And you know I hate you.
What about the rest of the list?
As long as you want this list kept secret, you're going to have to continue working for me until you earn it back. One sheet at a time.
One sheet at a time?
Why don't you come in an hour early tomorrow? It's going to be a busy day.
Ow! I'll show you a busy day, Nanette
Oh,
Manoir.
well-deserved revenge fantasy in this time.
Now that my secret list is still a secret, I am forced to push Ninny Pants in a sleigh made from a giant shoe I had to shine. But if Ninny Poo didn't have that list, things sure would be very different.
Hello,
Looks
vengeance.
like you're heading for an icy loop-de-loop, which is French for you are stuck upside down, and I am not. Because
Ball.
I am the Ice Queen, and I control you.
Oh, cool.
Now that I have the list, I will show you a busy day, Nanette Manoir. When
I love this Ice Queen
all the things I want you to
interpretation.
do as my personal assistant. It's over, I will say. As
Free
I personally
Frozen.
place you atop an icy mountain where you can study the Ice Age first.
Oh, Frozen like Walt Disney. Hello.
You will say, "Help me! I am stuck atop an icy mountain."
Honestly, I feel like this could be more violent.
You're not shivering, Nin, because the all-powerful list is here to save you.
Okay, see where this is going.
Sure to watch out for my snow monster at the bottom of the
I love
hill.
how they're double-headed.
So now it looks like you're
You know,
on a roll,
usually
my
Jenny and
pretty
Curly
friend.
don't deserve the
But look out for
punishments.
that
Here, you know
one-sided
what?
jiggly fruit that you so carelessly threw away.
I don't mind it as much this time.
I bid you adieu, Ninny Poo, which is French for now that I have the list and you don't, you will never tell me what to do again.
I think that could have been more violent.
That's it. I'm going to get that list back no matter what. Ah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. You weren't trying to take the list by force, were you?
Only my secrets weren't so secret. Hey, that's it. If I tell all my friends what's on the list won't be a secret.
I like that twist. I don't think I've seen another show do that.
Hello, Angela? These shoes will all have to be re-shined. They have some sort of waxy buildup on them.
I don't have to shine these shoes or do anything else for you, Nanette Manoir. On account of confessing to my friends can't be as bad as working for you. Guys, there's something I need to tell you.
Angela, stop! You can't do this!
Wow, she seems genuinely concerned that she no longer has power.
Nice of you to drop by, Nanette.
Did you have a nice trip?
It's not my fault. My shoes are slippery.
accidentally.
What was that important thing you had to tell us, Angela?
I'm really in the mood for pizza. Who's up for a bodies?
Huh. That was really funny. Funny thing, I actually remembered the ending of the episode differently because I thought she actually told her friends what she did, felt really guilty about it, and they forgave her for it. So I could have sworn it went that way, but no. Interesting. I actually felt like that would have been a bit of a stronger ending. But I will say this, when her friends actually come up to her and explain, hey, we were making fun of you, it was all in good fun, you took it really well, I found that legitimately very nice, especially from Gina, who's the one explaining it. Usually, I've seen Gina act like less than a good friend several times in the show, while I still don't really like the character, and think her bad moments and her selfish moments significantly outweigh the heartwarming ones. This was legitimately very nice, and I appreciated that. I also liked seeing how Angela's anger really did get the better of her, and yeah, but it's also something a kid would do. It is something you do. Yeah, she's embarrassed, she's angry, she's impulsive, and she's trying to stand up for herself. Angela is also somebody who gets genuinely insulted all the time by Nanette, by Miss Brinks, and by her older brothers. So she really would not understand the difference between someone gently teasing her, especially since she says her friends don't really do that.
I expect Nitty Pants to insult me with insult, but Gina Lash?
And someone genuinely insulting her. Her anger is very understandable and very relatable, but it also had a severe negative consequence, which made it particularly interesting. The pratfalls are really fun in this episode. The thing I wanted to talk about, so this episode's writer, Robert Lemereau, was a writer on Totally Spies, and a regular writer at that. Totally Spies, at least in the United States, has a reputation of being a fetish show. I rewatched an episode. I never picked up on that as a kid. So I rewatched an episode, and honestly, I still didn't really feel that way. While I understand how there's things in the show that people definitely could interpret that way, you know, the girls are pretty, they're in a lot of cute outfits, and honestly, people could be attracted to anything. I really didn't think it was intentional. With Anaconda, there's definitely lines and images that could easily be taken out of context, and I've definitely interpreted things that way. But now seeing that there were French people working on this show, it makes a bit more sense to me. Since French culture is a lot less uptight about anything that could be interpreted as sexual, the way Americans are really not uptight about anything violent. There's so much violence in our cartoons, which other countries aren't comfortable with. That, and I also think there might have been a language barrier. You know, when English is not your first language, you don't say things quite the way a native speaker would. You know, being from a multinational family, I do hear that. So I think that might be the case whenever I pick up on anything like that, at least in this show or in Totally Spies. So, honestly, seeing that puts so much into context for me. I'm still gonna poke fun at some of this stuff. But just so you know, whenever I see something that could be interpreted out of context in this show, I poke fun at it, and it's honestly just good fun for me. Anyways, I thought this was a great episode. I thought this was a good one for character development. This is probably the most suspenseful episode I've seen. I genuinely felt the stakes were very, very high here. And Nanette has real power over Angela, and she's blackmailing her to do so much. Even blackmailing some affection out of her. Which is kind of funny. I do find it kind of funny how she's genuinely distraught when she no longer has that power.
I don't have to shine these shoes or do anything else for you, Nanette Manoir. On account of confessing to my friends can't be as bad as working for you. Guys, there's something I need to tell you.
Angela, stop! You can't do this!
So, it's kind of funny. Like I said, I feel like in some ways, at least with Nanette, because everybody else, I've said this before, everyone else in Nanette's life sucks up to her. Angela's the one person who doesn't. So I feel like on some level, it is the most honest relationship she's got. And considering how she's able to get what she wants out of her parents, and Miss Brings and January and Carly. What if this is the only way she knows how to connect with people? I'm not saying it's the case. I'm saying it's just a possibility. Makes it kind of funny that way. But yeah, anger can be very cathartic. I still think the revenge fantasy could have been more violent. There could have been more pratfalls. There could have been, like, icebreakers hitting her around like a hockey puck. I do like the cryogenic freezing. But maybe drop her off a cliff onto some spikes and the ice shatters, her frozen body shatters. Something like that. I'm getting ahead of myself. This was a lot of a fun... Can't talk. This was a fun episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hope you guys did too.